I guess my story is a little bit different from most people's. My mother is an atheist, my dad a fallen Catholic, and so we were never brought up, I was never brought up in the church, but I was one of these weird kids who went to Sunday school and went to church anyways, and my parents called me the religious one, and I continued to go to church and went to Bible study and vacation Bible study all the way up until I was 13, and then I just kind of left the church and just never came back. And 3 years ago, my son died. He had cancer, brain cancer, and he died. And when the last week he was alive, I realized that I hadn't told him about God. So I started reading him the Bible. And he couldn't walk or talk at that point, but I knew he could understand what I was saying because he would always respond to whatever I was telling him. And so I asked him if he, and I know he was in a lot of pain because he was moaning, and so I said, do you want me to tell you about God? And then he stopped moaning. So I said, okay, let me read you the Bible. And so I couldn't start in Genesis because I didn't have enough time. So we started in Matthew. And he'd wake up and he'd kind of moan, and I'd say, you ready to start again? And then he'd be real quiet, so I knew he wanted to hear. So we did. We got halfway through Matthew, and then he died. And after that, I realized that I needed to come back to God. So Brian and I went to a couple of churches. We kind of did Bible study together, looked around for a couple of churches, but we had a really hard time finding a church. The main reason is, well, I'm a scientist and I'm a bleeding heart liberal, and found a lot of churches in Laramie weren't really very open to people like me. So I felt like at least God was back in my life. Jesus was in my life, God was in my life, things were good. And then we found Whitewater, and we found home, basically. And so after a year of being in Whitewater, I felt like Jesus was in my life, God was in my life, and it was time to invite the Holy Spirit into my life. And so the only way to do that was to get baptized, and so that's what brought me to Whitewater. And I'm loving everything that's happening to me since I started this whole process, and I'm just excited to see what happens next.